"We don't want to see your face anymore," my mother told me on a family video call. "Then you'll never see my money again," I replied, as I cut off payments for their mortgage, tuition, and grocery accounts. I opened my eyes feeling free of a burden for the first time in what felt like forever. Let's take a step back. I'm 34 now, and for almost 10 years, I've silently carried the weight of supporting my entire family. After my father lost his position during the 2008 financial crash and spiraled into unpaid bills and missed mortgage payments, someone had to take responsibility. That someone ended up being me. At 22, while most of my peers were exploring the world or splashing their paychecks on festivals and expensive drinks, I was wiring money home. Initially, it was just for grocery expenses. Then came the house payments. Eventually, I covered Felipe's university fees, Susanna's cheerleading squad costs, and what my mother used to call her monthly stipend, although there was nothing consistent about it. She would just text, "Short this month. Can you help?" And I always did. Nobody ever checked if I was okay. Nobody ever said thank you. What I got instead were bitter remarks. My mother disapproved of me stopping church. My father dismissed my marketing career as a fake job. Felipe mocked the size of my apartment. Susanna accused me of being distant because I wouldn't drive 4 hours every weekend to visit them, ignoring the fact that I was the one covering the mortgage on that very house they wanted me to visit. Then it all imploded last Friday. It was just another regular video call with the family. I was discussing Susanna's fall semester fees and mentioned that my rent had gone up again. Carefully, I said I might have to reduce some of the financial help. That's when my mother leaned closer to the screen and said, "You know what? We don't want to see your face anymore." And she disconnected. I sat there stunned, staring at the empty screen. I tried texting her. It bounced back. She'd blocked me. I checked my inbox. Silence. Nothing from Dad. Not a word from Felipe or Susanna. They had shut me out completely, as if I were some stranger who had wronged them. I could have broken down or raged, but instead, I felt calm. Sure, I wrote one last message. "You're not getting another cent from me." Then I rolled up my sleeves, not for my usual work, but to begin shutting down every financial connection I had with them. It's strange how quickly everything can crumble when you're the one who built it all. That morning, right after sending that last message, I sat at my kitchen table with a fresh cup of coffee and my laptop. For once, I didn't feel rushed. There were no urgent transfers to manage. I didn't have to calculate if I'd have enough for food after sending money to everyone else. Just silence. The kind of silence that feels earned. I started with the house payments. My name wasn't on the title, but I had been making the payments like clockwork for years. Opened my bank's panel, 2 clicks, done. I even called to double-check. Withdrawals officially canceled. Then came the joint account I'd set up with my mother. Originally created so she could feel independent, it really just gave her 24/7 access to my money. I emptied it, then closed it permanently. The bank agent asked why. I paused, then typed, "Breach of trust." Next, I tackled Felipe's university portal. It was still linked to my email. Logged in, deleted the saved payment method. Even added a note in the billing section saying I would no longer be covering tuition. It felt amazing. I worked down the list. Canceled the utility payments. Removed the food delivery subscription. Even contacted their rental landlord and said, "Hi, I won't be paying the rent anymore. You'll have to speak directly to the tenants." There was an awkward pause, then he said, "Understood." Just like that, I was freed. No dramatic goodbyes, no announcements, just a meticulous exit. It was surprising how simple it was to erase myself from their financial lives, like deleting old downloads you didn't even know you had. For the first time in years, I wasn't panicking about making ends meet. I just breathed. I didn't expect them to react immediately, but the silence didn't last. That very evening, I was finishing a quiet dinner, something simple, something just for me, when my phone buzzed. An unknown number. Ignored it. Then another. Then 2 messages in a row. Felipe's payment failed. Mom's flipping out. Call her. No names. No greetings. Just orders, as if nothing had changed. The third alert came through a completely unfamiliar contact. Click to read it, and the tone immediately gave it away. It was from Aunt Teresa. Clearly, Mom had dragged her into the chaos. Whatever is going on, your mother thinks you're acting unreasonable. We can talk. Ignored it completely. By sunrise, the incoming calls multiplied. A restricted number left a voicemail. It was Susanna. Her voice trembled, lower than usual. I'm not mad, I promise, she said softly. I just can't get a hold of anyone. The university contacted me saying there's an outstanding balance and they're going to drop my enrollment. Can you please contact Mom? She's not acting like herself lately. She wasn't yelling. She wasn't manipulating. She was just crying. And that, truthfully, tugged at me. But I still didn't reply. Not out of apathy, but out of years of overextending my emotions. Then Mom tried again, this time borrowing someone else's phone. First a typed message, please, stop this. Let's be a family again. Mom called 60 seconds later. I let it go to voicemail. Her tone wasn't furious, not completely. Her words were measured, almost pleading, but still laced with entitlement. You've made your point. We get it, she began. But this isn't how family behaves. We've never been perfect, but we've always been there for each other. I don't know what you expect me to say. Are you expecting me to beg? There was no apology, no acknowledgement of the harsh words she'd used, not even a hint that boundaries had been crossed. Just a woman who was used to dominating, now realizing the ground beneath her feet had collapsed. They hadn't lost a son. They had lost their financial foundation. I would assume ignoring it would get easier with time, but it didn't. It actually got more unsettling. Their messages started to shift in tone. First desperation, then blame, eventually distorted memories. Felipe sent a massive text about how I'd always been focused on money, claiming he never asked for help, as if I hadn't covered his college expenses for 4 years like some entertainment subscription. Then Susanna chimed in with a melodramatic, I wish it didn't come to this, as if I'd left in the night for no reason. After that, I got a voicemail from Mom. Listened to it once. That was enough. You think we exploited you. That's not true. We relied on you because we thought you wanted to be there for us. You never pushed back. You were always available. You were the strong one. And in a twisted way, she was right. I had always been there. But resilience wears thin. It frays. And when people only reach out when the flow of money stops, that's not kinship. It's a business transaction. So I cut off all contact completely, blocked every new number, switched all sensitive accounts to private, exited the family message group with a single, silent action. No social media updates. No dramatic responses. No retaliatory actions. I simply erased my financial footprint from their world. It's amazing how quickly someone becomes invisible when there's no currency symbol attached to their existence. By the end of the week, the calls lessened. The messages dwindled to almost nothing. And the absence they left behind didn't feel like sadness. It felt like freedom. Room to breathe. Time to think about a future not dictated by guilt. And that's when I realized I wasn't just done being their banker. I was done being their explanation point. The next morning, after the last borrowed number, I slept in past sunrise. Not in a lazy way, but with a sense of no obligations today. No vibrating phone. No account alerts. No having to mentally calculate who needed what. Just natural light streaming through my window and the sound of my own breathing. I made a proper cup of coffee, not that cheap instant stuff I used to buy while saving for their utilities. I sat at my table and had the strangest realization. This income really is mine now. Opened my laptop, loaded up the budget app one used to treat like a war zone, and went through my figures. Then I started jotting down all the things I'd put off. Someday I'll travel. Someday I'll launch a project. Eventually I'll spend on me. And somehow, that later became now. Step 1. I bought a plane ticket. Destination: Cancun. Nonstop. Window seat. Didn't mention it to anyone. Didn't need anyone's opinion. No one had the authority to be disappointed anymore. Then I booked a consultation with a business mentor. There'd been an idea buried in the back of my head for years, a design studio focused on helping independent creators with their branding. I'd spent years building other people's dreams. Now it was finally time to build my own. Before noon, I'd accomplished more toward building my own path than I had during the last half-decade. No alerts. No ringing. No shame. Just liberation. And it felt just like that refreshing first mouthful of freshly brewed coffee. But cutting off phone numbers didn't erase the memories. They returned in quiet ways, like soft hums you don't realize are present until the silence makes them obvious. Sometimes I'd be walking aimlessly and suddenly remember how Mom always texted me at 9 a.m. on Sundays. Funds arrived. No pleasantries. No concern. Just another cold reminder of what was required of me. Or I'd be in a supermarket aisle, reaching for a nice piece of cheese, only to freeze. An instinct built from years of associating every small comfort with internal guilt. Must be nice, Dad muttered, seeing a jacket I bought on clearance. Seems like the rest of us just suffer. It wasn't generosity they wanted. It was control. A kind of silent, consuming dominance. The kind that weaves itself into your identity and tricks you into thinking it's affection. That first stretch of isolation was far more jarring than I'd expected, because for the first time in a long time, I had to ask myself, who am I if no one needs me? And to be honest, I wasn't sure. Not yet. But I was starting to dig into it. I visited an exhibition alone, picked up a new notebook and started doodling again. Small, personal moments. Pieces of myself I hadn't touched in so long, too busy piecing together everyone else's broken parts. Sometimes I'd still unlock my phone, half expecting one last unknown number to slip through my blocks. But none came. Maybe they'd given up. Or maybe they finally realized I wasn't bluffing. I was done. The replies did arrive. One said, "Took you long enough." Another replied, "Thought you disappeared." I hadn't gone anywhere. I'd just been buried alive. But now I was finally surfacing. Sure, there were difficult hours. Nights where I lay still, wondering if I'd done the right thing. Moments where I longed, not for the people, but for the idea of family. But those feelings didn't define me anymore. What defined me was the silence. Not steeped in obligation. Watching my balance gradually rise. Putting pen to paper in that notebook, line after line, without shame or permission. I no longer served as the backup plan for people who never supported mine. I had become my own contingency. Roughly 14 days passed without any communication. Then they made another move. This time, not overtly. Instead, it came softly, carefully planned. The kind of emotional trickery that pretends to be care, wrapped up in old memories. A notification popped up on my Instagram. It was from a cousin I hadn't spoken to in ages. "Hey, just wanted to see how you're doing. Mom told me you've been quiet lately. She's worried. Everything okay?" I stared at that message for a long time. The wording was very gently chosen. You've been quiet. Not, you cut ties. Not, after what they did. It felt as though all the years I spent helping were being erased, as if the real story had been shifted to make it seem like I'd abandoned them for no reason. I didn't reply. 2 days later, Dad sent something unusual, an email, which he rarely did. It was short. "Whatever problems you have with your mother, we can fix it. You've made your point. Don't let pride break up the family." I read it several times. I didn't feel anger. Not sadness either. Just that same old sense of tiredness I always felt dealing with them. This was how it always worked in our house. Maintain appearances. Act as if nothing was wrong. Say you'd said enough, as if I'd had some kind of breakdown, not that I'd left after being used for years. Then came the final piece that got to me. A voice clip from Susanna. No fake whining. No manipulations. Just her speaking softly, clearly exhausted. I know you think we took advantage of you. Maybe we did. Honestly, I don't know. I'm not mad, I'm just tired. I didn't ask for this. None of us did. But she was wrong. Maybe they never said the words aloud, but they counted on me to do everything. They thought I always would. They expected me to pay for things. They assumed I would never speak up. They believed I would always stay small and quiet. And when I finally stopped playing along, they were confused, because for a long time, my silence made life easier for them. My willingness to give kept everything running. So when I left, they didn't miss me. They missed the person who fixed their problems. And deep down, I think they realized that. Not because I hated them. Not out of rage. But because I finally saw what was real, and I couldn't lie to myself anymore. That same week, I paid the first installment for a new workspace. It wasn't perfect. A metal pipe showed on the ceiling. The floor was uneven. The windows rattled. But the light that filled the back room every afternoon felt warm and peaceful. I signed the papers with a peace I hadn't felt in years. It was fully mine. Not borrowed. Not shared. Not something I had to give away to take care of others. I grabbed a paint roller and changed the walls myself. All white, with one big green wall that made the space feel energized. Hauled in a large table, added mismatched chairs. A friend brought over some creative books. Another came to help me install shelving. I didn't tell anyone. Didn't post anything online. No speeches. No announcements. I opened the door, took a seat, and breathed deeply. Some days I still hear their voices in my head. Why don't you come back more often? Susanna needs help with her books. You know Mom's struggling with money. That's not a real job, but at least it pays you. Now those words feel distant. They hold no power. I no longer bend for them. I am not their bank account. I'm not the person they call when the fridge is empty or when the school fees are due. I am just me. And, for the first time, that's actually enough. Spring arrived early that year. A warm wind came too soon. Flowers started blooming earlier than usual. It made the world seem softer than it really was. I was walking back to my own studio. Yes, my studio, when I saw it. A number I didn't recognize popped up on my phone. I hadn't blocked it. I simply didn't know who it belonged to. My finger hovered over the screen a beat longer than necessary. Curiosity always wins. I answered. Hi, Susanna said, her voice low and tired. They want to get together for dinner. Just to talk. No pressure. I told them I'd ask you first. There was a silence. She remained quiet, as if used to being put on hold. I think they actually miss you now, she said after a moment. I didn't reply immediately. Let the silence sit for a while. Then I asked the thing that really mattered. Did they ever say sorry? She let out a slow sigh. They didn't say sorry. They just mentioned wanting to move forward. A small smile almost cracked my face. There it was. No apology. No accountability. Just skipping to the okay part and pretending everything's fine. I'm not going, I replied. Why? She asked, her voice shaking a little. It didn't sound angry, more confused, maybe even scared, like a part of her finally understood that I truly meant every word. Because moving forward without acknowledging what happened isn't healing. It's pretending. And I'm not pretending anymore. That part of my life is over. Another silence. Then she spoke softly, okay. I guess I'll see you sometime. I didn't say anything. We both knew I wouldn't. The following weeks were quiet again, almost eerily peaceful. No more covert calls. No more guilt-soaked voicemails. No more let's talk texts. It felt as though they finally realized I wasn't coming back. Not to send money. Not to carry their regrets. Not to act like they hadn't hurt me. I had permanently left their story. And what remained was an emptiness. It was calm. During that quiet, I finally had space to do the things I'd always put off. I organized a class in my studio, a session to help artists with their branding. 5 people came. One cried after landing their first client. They sent me a thank you note. I tacked it to my wall. I had dinner with someone I hadn't spoken to in years, not because I didn't care, but because I never thought I deserved someone who didn't rely on me. He laughed at my bad jokes. He asked questions about my designs, like the answers actually mattered. I told him everything, honestly. I started saving money, not sending it. I booked another trip, not to escape, but to experience something new, to live again. And every so often, I'd look at my phone and think to myself, this is what peace actually feels like. Not distance. Not emptiness. Freedom. And when I look back, I don't regret anything. Not the time I gave them, it showed me how far I'd go to care. And not the moment I stopped, because it showed me how far I'd go to finally take care of myself.